guys and ghouls, and welcome back to the podcast where we talk about all things spooky. Dial H for horror. I am your ghostess with the mostest, Shay.
And I'm your favorite final girl, Gina.
And we are back after a quite long hiatus.
Yes, but as you can see, there's a reason why. We are in the same building now.
Yes.
And we
live together.
We live together
now.
How do we say this?
Yeah, it's like we live together. Yeah, that's the whole reason we took a time off from the podcast for a bit, was because we were in the process of moving. I was leaving a different state and coming back home, and she was coming to this home. So we kind of just all converged here. And then after that, we have the subject of today's video, Halloween Horror Nights. We went to Halloween Horror Nights quite a bit.
Yes, we did.
So it's been a crazy weeks.
We know the ins and outs of Halloween Horror Nights.
Halloween Horror Nights 2023. And yeah, and then we got our producer. He's here today. Last time we recorded, we had a lot of banter with him, and then there was a total mess up where I didn't have him set where you guys could hear him. We could hear him, but you guys couldn't. So I had to delete all of those parts where we were having like discussions about the movie we were watching.
Yeah, it shortened things and it took out a lot of really good moments.
It did, yeah. So, but he's here today, so he'll be joining us for conversation because he did go to Halloween Horror Nights with us as well. So he has, I'm sure, his own opinions about the things that he experienced there as well. So we're just gonna jump right into this. This is how we're gonna do things. So I'm kind of just gonna do this where we start with like the houses, then we talk about scare zones, and then kind of like the rest.
Sounds good to me.
So there's 10 houses this year. There's 5 IPs and then 5 regular ones, 5 original ones. The big ones this year, of course, Stranger Things and The Last of Us. That's been the longest waits. we both laugh because we're like,
Nervous laughter.
Nervous laughter. So kind of like, I just want to kind of go through and not talk about them super in depth, but kind of talk about our experiences since we did all 10.
Yes, we did.
Since we had the multi-day pass, so we got to go multiple days. So let's start with, let's do like the IPs first. Let's start with the IPs.
Okay then.
So there are Stranger Things, The Last of Us, The Exorcist, Monsters Unmasked, and Chucky Ultimate Kill Count.
Yes.
So far, public reception, most people don't like Chucky.
It's sad.
It is sad. It wasn't my favorite, but it was fun. I mean, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah,
it was fun.
I understand why people weren't really into it because, for one, the sets weren't very elaborate, especially compared to other IP houses where they went all out. Yeah, they went in, they went out. And then also the Chucky one, I feel like you had to really watch that show.
Yeah, you really had to have the context of the show because there's a lot of kills from the show in that house versus, it just being like random kills from different movies that you might have seen.
Yeah.
So I know publicly there's been mixed receptions about both The Last of Us and Stranger Things. So if those are houses that you're like thinking, if you're going in October and you're thinking, oh yeah, I want to go in those two. Personally, I liked both of them. They were both high on my list. Stranger Things was one that I went in and I was not sure if I was going to like because I've been very, very adamantly against the other 2 houses that they had. I did not like the one they did in 2019, and I was okay with the one that they did in 2018, but it was kind of boring. This one is definitely the best of the 3 that they've done. So if you've gone previous years, you'll like this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is the first Stranger Things house I've ever done. I feel like the sets were done really well. Also, different from Chucky. Now, I've seen both the Chucky TV show and Stranger Things. I feel like you could enjoy the Stranger Things house and have never seen the show. Mm-hmm. Which is, I don't know quite what the difference is there, why you feel such a disconnect with Chucky, but you don't with Stranger Things.
I think it's because the sets look incomplete. Because of the whole overarching theme is supposed to be, with Chucky, is supposed to be that they are building a house based off of the show, and then Chucky went to the house while they were in the middle of building it, realized they weren't actually killing people, and then decided he was going to start killing all the actors. So I think that's why it also feels so empty and so hollow, because it's supposed to be an unfinished house that he's taking over, but it doesn't really translate well as far as like it's not finished, it's not proper, and then there's also like scenes from the show thrown in there.
They also, I feel they didn't do enough to drive that story into the house.
Yeah.
You didn't get enough of like seeing Universal or team members like say like get out while you can or something. There was a lot of people dressed as Chucky.
There was the one that actually got me the best, like not scare wise, was there's a break between the first part of the house and the second part where you're walking past the stairwell. And the night that we went, there was a black man that was on the stairwell, and that actor is supposed to be warning you about going in the house. He's going like, don't go in. And we walked by him, the two of us, obviously being women of color, people of color, and we walked by, he goes, "Girl, look at your skin color, you can't go in there." And we were like cracking up walking into this house because we were like, he did not just say that.
He's just sort of like, we don't do that.
Yeah, he's like, we don't do that. We don't go in. We'll do this. It was.
I think I looked at him and said, "We're doing it today."
Yes, they're both like, we're going in. So that was really cool. I loved that. I loved that touch of like interaction with the cast member or the team member. Because I know that the previous videos I've seen, usually the actor was like far away. And you're trying to, like, he's just going
up on the scaffold.
Yeah, they're looking down at you going, "Don't go in there." So it was kind of cool. He was a little bit closer, so he was more able to interact with us and talk to us and sort of be like, no, look, we don't go in there. We don't do this. So I liked that about that. So,
and I went when I went through it a second time with some friends. The same thing, they had him play slower down again. So I think that's something that's changed from opening night.
That's good.
Now.
That's good.
It's a permanent change.
It helps with the interactivity of that house and kind of the pacing of the house as well. As far as the other, I guess Last of Us was the other one I wanted to talk about. That one has been getting so many mixed reviews, and that, I will say this, I know we're going to kind of rank our houses, but that one's my favorite of this year. It's high up on the list. It's tied with another one, but we're not there yet. I thought it was terrifying, especially considering I went in there not thinking it was going to be scary. And kind of like going, maybe. It was terrifying. Even going through it the second time, when we went through it a second time, I was still scared. And I knew what was going to happen. I was still scared. The sets are incredible. The clicker masks are really well done. They look just like the game. So I don't understand why people are like, oh, it wasn't what I was expecting, or there wasn't enough to it. I was like, what were you thinking Joel, it was just going to be nothing but Joel and Ellie?
So I think what people were expecting out of Last of Us is, this kind of helps because we can go back to Stranger Things and talk a bit more about that too, because I think we went back to Chucky for a second.
Yeah, we did.
But with the Last of Us, I think they wanted what was in Stranger Things, where there was a lot of scenes playing out in like iconic moments from the game. Where like Stranger Things, you did get a lot of that fan service, even though I still stand by, if you haven't seen the show, you would still enjoy it. But you do get those moments where you start out by walking through Eddie's trailer and you see Christy with her body all mangled up.
And Eddie comes out and screams
doing
at you.
Christy, wake up. Christy, wake up. You get other iconic moments.
Master of Puppets scene, which is like an incredible moment where you walk in and you're walking past the trailer and there's blaring Master of Puppets and there's Dustin and Eddie on the trailer, fighting the bats and everything. It's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really like great moments throughout that entire season that they got to capitalize on, and you got to
running up that hill.
Running up that hill is another moment. Seeing Max, same thing, where she's kind of
little snap crackle pop.
Yeah.
and Lucas, I will say both times I went through that house, the scare actor playing Lucas, going too hard for playing a character that's not scary. Same with Steve. Can I talk about Steve for a second?
We can talk about Steve.
So one of my biggest complaints in previous Stranger Things house was just a personal thing, because I love the character of Steve Harrington. Both of the times I've gone to the Stranger Things houses in the previous years, I've never seen Steve. Like, either the scare actor hasn't been in the house, or it's a different scare entirely that night. Like, there was one in the first house where you either got Steve or the Demogorgon, and unfortunately the night I went, we got the Demogorgon. We didn't get Steve. And so this time I was really excited because I knew where Steve was going to be, and I have a friend that also really, like, Steve is her favorite character too. So I was like, oh, we get to see Steve in this house. And we walked around that corner, and the man blends in with the scenery way too well, and he got me that time. Me and my friends screamed so loud, and we screamed Steve, because he jumped out and scared the crap out of us. And he's not even scary. He's just like, don't go in there. Like, he said something like that, and we screamed. And then the second time I went through it, got me again. And I saw him coming this time. I was like, again? Like, really? So I'm like, how are these actors who, like, they're playing characters that are not scary, scaring me more than Vecna is?
Vecna was just like out there with his hand.
He was just posing. He was just posing most of the time. But like Lucas scared the crap out of my niece and her friend. He came running from out in the darkness and was just like, Max, and like they were like, oh, it was so funny. I was like, how did Lucas be the biggest scare of this house?
Lucas. Look out for Lucas.
Look out for Lucas Sinclair. He is very scary.
That's the name of the episode. Look out for Lucas.
Season 5, guys. Okay, Duffer Brothers, if you're listening, I know you guys are working on the script. Look out for Lucas. But yes, there was a lot of iconic moments, and I think there were moments in The Last of Us, but the difference is, I think, between The Last of Us and Stranger Things, is that the monsters in The Last of Us are scarier than the monsters in Stranger Things. Because our producer was saying when we left The Last of Us house, he's like, oh, they had this moment from the game and that moment from the game. Exactly. And I was like, I didn't even know where we were because I was just screaming all the clickers and the infected and the bloaters. I wasn't even paying attention to the scenery because I was that scared. So I'm like, when people are like, oh, I didn't like The Last of Us house, you know, I'm like, you know, I mean, everybody's different. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions this year about every house, but
and I agree. I mean, between the two, I think I liked The Last of Us house more than the Stranger Things house. But I think I understand that maybe people were looking for iconic showdowns between two characters, or, you know, maybe even looking for the moment at the very beginning of the game when the outbreak begins and Joel loses his daughter. Maybe they're looking for things like that. This is all speculation on my part. I was not looking for these things. I was very satisfied with the house for what it is. I think it's really good. It's got great scares. I mean, those bloaters, man,
they were good.
They be moving.
It felt more like you were part of the what was going on. I think that's what it was that I liked about it, and that's why I like about a lot of, like, when they do that with IPs, because, for example, I know you didn't go in this house, but Haunting of Hill House in 2021, that's a show that I never really found to be very scary. It's more sad than anything. It's more of like a heartfelt, I mean, of course there's scares in it, but there's more heart in it. It's more about the family dynamic, trauma, losing loved ones, and things like that. And I mean, I cried so hard watching that show so many times. So when they were like, we're doing a Haunting of Hill House haunted house, I was like, how? This show's not scary. Oh, that house was scary.
Yeah.
That house was, they, instead of them taking you through iconic scenes, yeah, there were moments, but instead of them taking you through iconic scenes from the show, they just put you in the house. And they made you feel like the characters did when they were living in the house and going through all of that. And that's what I think they did with The Last of Us, where they made you feel like Joel and Ellie trying to survive versus here's Joel and Ellie over here doing this. There's Joel and Ellie over there doing that. You guys got to go to Hollywood if that's what you're looking for, because that's what it looks like Hollywood's is. Hollywood's looks like they're just standing around talking.
It's like a one big meeting.
Exactly.
No, I liked, and that's why I liked it too, because you felt like you were walking through the different environments of the game and getting to experience those environments. And I felt like I should be walking around holding up a gun, like shooting down these zombies.
The clickers and the zombies, the infected, all that. The only one we haven't talked about yet for IPs is Universal Monsters Unmasked. So this one was Phantom of the Opera, Invisible Man, Hunchback, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it takes place in Paris. I gotta say, this was probably my least favorite of the Universal Monsters houses that they've done. It wasn't bad. I thought it was good. I thought that they went too all in on the Phantom and there wasn't enough of everybody else.
The Phantom was a very long section of the house. It definitely was.
Yeah.
And it just it did feel weird because you're almost thinking, okay, maybe it's just a Phantom house. Maybe I got this whole thing wrong. And then suddenly you're like, oh no, there's Hunchback. He's jumping at me. Which was a great scare.
That was a great scare.
That was my favorite moment of the house is when the Hunchback jumps off of the platform. And it looks like he's going to fly on you, but he's on a bungee cord, so it brings him back up. It's a really great moment.
And the Invisible Man section where you're walking through nothing but darkness, and then it's just like illuminated invisible men, and then they're just jumping out at you, and you don't know which one's going to come. Like that was a very solid scare, very solid scare. But I really wish there had been more of the others, kind of like how they did with the one the year prior where they had the Mummy, the Wolfman, and Dracula. I thought they had equal of
it was very balanced, and everyone had their time in the sun. And I wish that they kept the thing going that they had last year where there's a winner at the end, like someone won the battle, because it was great. You know, you go through and you see Wolfman holding up Dracula's head, or Mummy holding up Wolfman's head, and like it was like a cool thing that you had a different ending every time.
Yeah.
Where in this case, I mean, you know, sets were beautiful.
Oh yeah, sets were beautiful. It smelled really good in there.
It smelled wonderful.
It smelled like a very nice incense, like a frankincense almost. It was very nice. It was very soothing.
I liked how when you first walked in, it looks like you're gonna walk into the sewers first. I think
the police officer, the police officer on the bridge, like telling you he's looking for these guys, and
you know that French kid
extra, read all about it.
I mean, what an authentic and fantastic French.
Every single room, every single time they change characters, you just hear this guy extra, read all about it.
That's the scariest thing.
Oh my gosh. So that's like pretty much the IP houses. Moving on to the original ones, we had Blood Omens, Dueling Dragon shirt, Yeti, Darkest Deal, and Dr. Oddfellow. So let's start with Blood Omens.
Yeah.
What did you think of Blood Omens?
I really enjoyed that one. I liked the theming of the house. I liked the occult theme. I don't know. It had a lot of like great sets and great moments, but not a lot of great scares.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's actually my least favorite house of this year, and I'm sure that's controversial because a lot of people really like that house. Both times we went through it, I thought it was kind of boring.
I think people want more of that theme, but they need to amp up the scares. They need to have more actors in that house. They have plenty of hiding spots for them. Like there's no shortage of that.
Yeah.
But they need to utilize them better. I do love the one scene you walk into though when you're in the church, and
that is a good one.
Everyone's back is turned and have the hoods up, so you don't know what is a dummy and what is a scare actor.
And they change it every night, I believe, who's real and who's not. Because one of the nights we went through, it was a guy, and he got up, and then another night we went through, it was a girl with like a knife in her face, and she was moving her head, but she was very subtle, which I liked. Because when we walked by her, I didn't realize that she was a person until I saw her head slightly move, like in my direction, and I was like, "Ooh, that was good. Ooh, that was creepy." I was like, because I didn't realize she was real. I just thought she was a dummy laying there with like a knife in her head, and then all of a sudden she just turned her head slowly. I was like, "Oh, okay." Is she gonna get up? And she didn't move. She just looked at me and then like went back to her position, which reminds me of like the Killer Clown's house, the one year where I thought there was. One clown was a statue, and then he just moved his hand, and I screamed. I was like, oh my god. There was one scare in there that I know that they used in other houses, but I didn't notice it except for in this house. When you walk into that room where they has all the bodies on the table and they got the pumpkins in their head and stuff, which was it's gross but a very cool scene.
It's really cool.
Really cool, interesting. Like, because the whole point of this this house is that it's essentially a pagan festival where the townspeople, the only way that they can protect themselves from like evil is by sacrificing us, essentially, those who walk through the house, and we're walking through the blood moon ritual. I guess the other reason I didn't really like this one all that much is because they literally did this same house last year with the Chupacabra. It's basically the same exact house, just not Hispanic.
Wasn't it in the same spot too?
No, Chupacabra was where Yeti was.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where Yeti was. Which would have been funny if it was the same spot. Oh, I just realized we didn't talk about The Exorcist.
So, when you listed off the IP houses, and you said Universal Monsters, I thought that would be am I wrong in that? That's not an IP house.
That is an IP. No, it's an IP house.
Okay.
It is, yeah. Even though it's Universal, but we're going to double back now. Because we forgot to talk about The Exorcist. As you can tell, that one slipped my mind completely. I was terrified of that one. I did not want to go in it, but I did it. I survived.
Yes.
Came out alive. Came out on top.
They did it, and I was very proud.
Thank you. The Exorcist was pretty good. I think the reason why I was able to do it more was because I mentally prepared myself for the vomit scenes, and we actually didn't see the first vomit scene. Mm-hmm. We didn't see that one. We missed it entirely, which I was like, thank God. We walked past it, I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, the first time I did it, I saw it.
Yeah. I'm like, thank God. We walked right past it. As soon as we got to that hallway, I was like, I know it's on this side, just keep looking straight. And then when we left the room, I was like, oh, we didn't get it. Yes! It's one scare I'm glad we didn't get. But, the other one, I just didn't look up.
Yeah.
I just didn't look up. That's all I did. I just walked through it and stayed down. It's very intense. A heavy house. Heavy energy in that house. Pretty solid scares. I don't think the sets were all that great, but again, it's supposed to be like a walking trailer, so I think it's limited. It limited itself to what it could be.
Yeah. Because
of the fact that it's not supposed to reveal too much about the movie, which I mean, it's an exorcism movie, so it's going to be, exorcism stuff. So
yeah.
But it was very, very creepy, very unsettling house. Solid scares, in my opinion.
I enjoyed it a lot. I really did like the sets in the house. And it has me very excited to watch the new Exorcist movie, which is coming out next week at the time that we're recording this.
Yes.
When it uploads, that would be in 2 days.
Yeah, in 2 days. Yeah, it'll be on October 6th. We will be at Spookala.
Yes. Yeah, which will be another thing we'll talk about.
Yes.
But I did really enjoy the house as a whole. I've never seen the first Exorcist, so
we will be watching that before we see the second one. The second one.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to watch that one now. And it's not like I haven't watched it for any particular reason, but I am now into it. And then every time I see the trailer for the new Exorcist movie, I'm like, oh man, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
something about the Exorcist itself. I'm not afraid of exorcism movies, but something about The Exorcist I can't. I'm so scared of that for some reason. I don't know if my mom just passed that trauma down onto me, but I'm gonna rewatch the original because I'm a lot tougher now than I was when I first watched it. When I first watched it, it traumatized me, and I couldn't sleep for 2 days straight. And then now, but this one definitely I don't like when I see the trailer. I always try to that's why I haven't been watching Hulu, because they keep playing the trailer, and I'm like, I'm so good. I don't need to see this when I'm trying to go to bed. Let me just stick with YouTube, because I don't have ads on YouTube, thank God. And that's another reason why I don't have ads on YouTube, because YouTube likes to throw in a horror trailer every now and then. I'm like, come on, I'm trying to go to sleep. But yeah, no, it was a solid house. Going back to the original houses though, so those Blood Moon, the scare I was going to talk about, the reason I was reminded of it, because I think it was in the Exorcist house too, was when you walk into that room where the bodies are laying on the table and there's the pumpkins and all that stuff, it looks like there's no one in the room, and then you get to one spot and somebody jumps out and you realize that there's actually a mirror there that's hiding them. So when you walk into the room, it looks like there's no one in the room, but then that person's there. I was like, I literally, when we walked by it the second time, it didn't scare me.
Yeah.
But I was just more confused, because I was like, where did he come from?
Yeah.
And then I turned around, I was like, oh, I was like, that's cool. I was like, that's really cool.
I remember watching you get scared through the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first time. He got me the first time, but the second time I was like, when we went through the second time, I was just kind of like, oh, where did he come from?
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. It caught me off guard for a second. I was like, that was good. That was solid. So there's that one. Dueling Dragons. This was our most hyped house, because we're Dueling Dragons fanatics, obviously. Yeah. What did you think of Dueling Dragons?
Sets were great. Costumes were incredible to look at. It's not necessarily a scary house, but they needed to have that fun house of the year, and I think this nailed that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when we went through with your niece and her friend, I mean, those kids had never been on Dueling Dragons before. I actually was explaining the premise of the ride to them when we were in line, and they enjoyed it so much. So it just was a great and immersive house to walk through. I like that you get to choose your ending. The only thing is, I wish those endings had more scare actors in them.
I wish they were longer.
Longer.
I wish they were longer.
But even if they kept those endings the length they were, but they put more people in there, I think that would be better, because I did both Fire and Ice, and through both I had 1 or 2 scare actors on either side, and it was just disappointing. It was just more like, would you like to see red at the end or blue?
Pretty much, yeah. It's definitely a nostalgic trip for people who've grown up. I mean, obviously you don't have to go on Dueling Dragons to know, but it's definitely a good nostalgic trip for people who grew up going on the ride or have gone on the ride a lot. You don't necessarily have to be grown up going on it, because I know there's people in our family that went on it, multiple times, and they were not kids. Because like when you walk in the first room, it looks like the entrance of the bridge that you used to walk up to the castle to get into line.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool, because the thing I always it just looked really beautiful. It was illuminated really well. And then when you're in the castle, and there's like the hallways where it's really dark, and then the people that had the skull masks popping out. I loved that, because there was that hallway of skulls that used to exist in that, and I was like, oh, I love it. They're scaring me but they're also like the hallway of skulls. It's cool.
Yeah.
Having the 2 dragons in the middle of the house, I thought that was incredible. That blew me away. I loved that, seeing Blizzrock and Pyrock just chilling on the top there. I was like, wow. And really miss this ride.
Whatever you decide to do with that Universal, like after you take the house down, just remember me. You can always send them to me. I know they're big. I'll strap them to the top of my car. I don't care.
They're beautiful.
I'll drive them home.
I would absolutely love them. They're so awesome. But yeah, I agree. It's definitely more of a starter house. It's the house you would take like your kids in if they're unsure, if they're like afraid of the event or not. It's just the right amount of creepy. Kind of reminds me of King Richard's. When I was a kid, there was a place called King Richard's that, it was like an arcade, and when you would walk in the entrance was very creepy, but then it was an arcade. They had like a little skeleton guy in the corner, and the Merlin wizard thing, and I don't know why it was creepy. I don't know why it felt like you were walking through a haunted house to get to the arcade, but that's what they decided to do with it.
For my South Park fans out there, it's kind of giving Black Bart's Cove.
There you go. Then we have Yeti.
Yeah, Yeti.
Talk about Yeti.
Yeah, Yeti is my. It's my favorite of the original houses. I'm torn between another one, which you know what that one is.
Yeah, it's my number 1
yeah,
house.
That one blew both of us away, but Yeti is my aesthetic.
It is.
It is just absolute camp the whole way through. You've got the cheesy, like super red blood. You've got the
one-liners.
It's just so good from beginning to end. And I think what really sold this haunted house was the fact that every scare actor in that house fully committed to their roles. They fully committed. No one was like, great, this one's lame, it's like an actually scary. Like, no, they were like, okay, I have to act like a cheesy 80s horror movie character.
Gives B-movie vibes.
Yeah, and because of that, it was so good, because everyone committed and like believed in the characters that they were playing. And also the costumes were fantastic.
That's what I was gonna say.
The Yeti costumes were incredible.
Yeah. The costumes, probably some of the best costumes of the entire event.
Yeah.
The Yeti, there was one, I will say this, I liked the house. I didn't get the same experience you did, because I think we were missing a lot of the moments. Like, a lot of them were happening either before we got there or happening after we left. So I wasn't getting like the same cheesy one-liners. Like, I wasn't getting to hear all of that stuff, because it was like passing. We were passing by it. I was like, oh, that sucks. I knew it was. I was like, I saw it happen. I'm like, oh. I would have liked that.
Yeah.
I was like, I would have liked that. But there was one part where a Yeti popped out of like the left side at us, and he was just kind of there, illuminated in the light. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's an awesome costume. Like, that looks amazing. Like, that is like, I couldn't help but say it like out loud as we were walking by the Yeti. I was like, wow, you look awesome. Like, it was so detailed, so cool looking. I really appreciate the costume designers this year. They really stuck their foot in this year's event, like with the costumes. Nothing looked in any of the houses. Nothing looked cheesy. Nothing looked cheap. everything looked really well done. So that one was easily the best as far as costume design goes.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Universal's costume team, like, they just hit it out the ballpark this year, and all the houses, like, just amazing job.
Yes. And then we have, I think, well, my favorite house, my number one house of this year, which I was not expecting, came out of nowhere.
This was a dark horse.
This was a dark horse, and this is easily the top of the list for me. It's tied with The Last of Us, The Darkest Deal. I know some people are going to be like, The Darkest Deal, really?
Give it a try.
Give it a chance if you haven't. If you're going in October, I would say put this one on your list. This one's about a guy selling his soul for fame, which is actually one of my favorite like folklore tales. It's a tale that I've heard many, many times in many different iterations. I'm sure you guys are just automatically thinking of like The Devil's Advocate and things like that. But this one specifically is based in like Louisiana, Bayou sort of thing. It's a blues singer, and there is actually a famous singer. I think his name is Robert Johnson. Yeah, I think his name is Robert Johnson, because I was watching a video about it on TikTok that they believe had sold his soul for fame, and then he was really bad at guitar, showed up one day in the blues club, was really good out of nowhere. Everyone was like, what the heck? Everyone believed he sold his soul somehow. Then the man just vanished. He just vanished. No one knows what happened to him. So this is kind of based off that story, and it starts off, and you're kind of like, okay, it's a little kind of corny, you know, there's the signing of the contract and stuff.
Yeah.
But once you get into that bar, it's just nothing but actors. It's like non-stop scares.
I'm sorry, you said kind of corny, and it's funny because you're
It was corn, yeah, the old corn maze, yeah. There's non-stop actors, scares everywhere. I got jump scared by a trumpet. By a trumpet. I couldn't believe that. I was like, whoa, a trumpet got me. The goat man, the giant goat man costume, and when he pulls back the curtain, that was terrifying. It was cool because you're walking by and it looks like you're walking through the bar, and there's Pine Straw Spruce, the guy who is trying to be famous.
Dumbest name ever.
Dumbest name ever. Sorry, Universal. You could have thought of a better one.
Pine Straw Spruce.
But he's on the stage performing. There's like two points where he's on the stage. There's one where it's like they're definitely trying to pull your focus to him so that the people from this side can get you. And he's up there, and he's just jamming, he's singing, he's shaking his hips, and you're like, okay. And then here comes like two like demon people like growling at you, and it's super good. The set, I mean, and then the last like demon guy at the end, like he was scary.
Yes.
He came out and it was like all like, you know, like, your soul is mine. I'm like, okay, Shang Tsung, like,
like chill.
Chill.
There was the second time I went through that house, actually, in the room where he's performing, and then the demon is behind him, and that's when he has like that glowing orb in his chest, because it's like extracting the soul. So when you go around the corner there's a piano.
Yeah.
And there is actually someone hiding inside
of the piano. Yeah.
I didn't notice that the first time I went through, and I thought that was such a cool thing. The way they just slide it back.
Yep, it is very, very good scare. We unfortunately did not get that scare that night. It happened behind us.
Yeah.
But I heard it happen as we were walking by. I was like, dang, that would have been such a good one. But that one is very intense. There's a lot. It's a very populated house with actors. There's places, like you said, places where they're hiding that you ain't even expecting them to hide.
Not at all.
And it's really good. Favorite house of the year. And then the last one we have to talk about, Dr. Oddfellow.
Oddfellow. This house was very short for me, and I think I say that in the vlog as well. I want to say this is the shortest house out of all of them.
It is.
Which is strange because this is the icon character for the year, so I was kind of expecting more out of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's very well themed. The sets look great. You've got a lot of, clowns popping out of clothes and stuff.
Oh yeah, a lot of clowns. There's some Easter eggs for those of you who are Universal Halloween Horror Nights Orlando fans, not Hollywood fans, because they have different lore than we do. They don't really have lore. We have lore. There's some Easter eggs. There's one part where you walk into a room and there's like a rack of clothes, and they have Jack the Clown's original costume on the rack of clothes. I did not see it because I was too busy hiding from a clown that was on the other side. And then there's one part where you're walking through, I think it's like, it's after there's a big giant clown face. There's a shadow on the wall of Dr. Oddfellow killing Jack the Clown, which is in the lore. Dr. Oddfellow, Jack the Clown was getting heat on him from the police. And he came to Dr. Oddfellow and said, hey, I killed a bunch of people, like, can you like, you know, cover for me? And Dr. Oddfellow's over here like, I've also killed a bunch of people and I don't want you leading the cops here. So he just was like to Jack. And they actually show you that scene in the haunted house, which I thought that I did catch and that I thought was cool.
That is really awesome how they did that. There was too much, it's kind of a dumb thing. The honking, I wasn't even going to bring up the honking. But like too much of the curtain things you have to move back.
Oh yeah.
And they were like almost like heavy sleeping bags or comforters for me, and at least for me, like you know, when you're like leading people through a house and you go to peel these things back, and then like the other people behind you are scared, so they're not going to hold on to the stuff you're pulling back.
And
so
just
like
hitting you in the face.
Yeah. And you're like, oh god. And just, you know, that's barely a gripe. This is not even a gripe to have with it, but like, I'm just gonna bring it up.
It's fair.
Also, when we went through it, it had just rained, so those things were sopping wet, and I was getting smacked with this big wet sleeping bag in my face.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I liked the aesthetic of the Dr. Oddfellow's house, but I agree it was way too short. And the honking. I didn't really like all that honking. There was just too much honking.
Honking and bonking.
Honking and bonking. It was like, boom. And I'm like, okay.
Every time a clown pops out, which like, it's littered with clowns.
Yeah.
And every time they pop out, it's bonk, bonk, and you're like, I'm gonna leave here with that egg.
Yeah, it's a little bit much. So yeah. All right. So since we've now talked about our opinions on all houses, we're gonna just kind of do a quick little mini tier list of our least to most favorite house.
Okay.
Each of us will give our own, you know, to speak about it. So I'll let you go first, and you can say which one do you like the least, then go up to the most. You can give like a short description of why you like that one the least and the most.
Well, I mean, I'll start with Oddfellow being the least, which I don't think I need to give much description. We just spoke about it, and you know why I didn't like it.
Smacked in the face with heavy things.
With wet blankets. It's not really a fear thing, it's just a comfort thing.
Valid.
Then I'd say the next one that I would say is that Blood Moon.
Blood Moon.
Yeah, I'd say Blood Moon is next on that list. Ooh, you're really testing me because now I gotta like think of each house. After that, I'd say Chucky. I hate putting it that low on the list, but you know, it wasn't a complete house, and they did not explain. They put so much thought into the story, and to not explain it was just kind of shameful.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Chucky puppets were great. They were great.
That first animatronic was fantastic.
And if you're going through the house, keep an eye out for a red button and push it if you see it. Push the red button. That's all I can say. Now, what would be next? Next one I'm going to say is, I'm going to get a little controversial here, Stranger Things, I'd say is next. Nothing terrible about it, it's just that there were houses that I liked more than it. After that, I'm going to put Dueling Dragons. It's sad for me to put that one so low on the list as well, but again, there were just other houses that I found myself having way more fun in. Then the next house that I'm going to list is Universal Monsters. Beautiful house, great set design, but I think that's almost a standard now for every Universal Monsters house. I feel like they always go in with the set design on those.
Yeah.
Next is, I'm trying to make sure I'm actually tearing this. I'm like, did I forget any that I?
No, you haven't gotten any to any. You still have like a few left.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one I'm gonna say is The Last of Us. I'm gonna put The Last of Us next. I hope if I forgot one that I liked less than Last of Us, I will double back.
Okay.
I only have two more, right? Or am I wrong?
You still have Darkest Deal, Exorcist.
Exorcist. Okay, hold on. Switching. Exorcist is next, then Last of Us. Exorcist I enjoyed. It got me hyped for the movie, which is what it's supposed to do. I liked the idea of it being an interactive trailer. That was something that was unique to me. And I think as far as their goal there of making you want to go see the film, they definitely achieved it. And like how rare, as far as the grand scheme of things, of people who are going to see this Exorcist movie, there's actually a very small percentage of people who can say they walked through the movie before seeing it. So that's a cool thing to be able to say. Mm-hmm. And then The Last of Us. Great environments, great scares. Again, them bloaters though. I also got one of my friends really good in the house, and when we were walking out of the house, and it's like, you know, you feel like you're safe now, and then that like one last clicker comes out. I was like, okay, we're good, and we like split up for a second, and then they got my friend so good.
Nice.
And I'm sorry. Okay, and then for the last two, Darkest Deal, and then Yeti. And really those two are so close. They're neck and neck for me, but Yeti's just aesthetically pleasing. And so there we go.
There we go. That's Gina's tier list.
Yay, I did it.
Yay. Okay, so for mine, Blood Moon's at the bottom. I just thought it was boring, personally. Beautiful house, but just completely boring.
Yeah.
Oddfellow would be next. It's kind of in the same level, just too short and too much bonk.
Too much bonk.
There's too much bonk. I don't really like all that bonk. After that, it would be Chucky. Chucky's in the same spot. I had fun in Chucky, I think, because we were inebriated a little bit at that point in time when we went through it. And also we had been watching the show, so we were just having fun with it. I think if I had gone through it the first night I went, I would not have liked it. I would have absolutely hated that house. But because we had a few drinks in us and we had been watching the show, so we were just like, hey, Chucky, yeah, we were having a good time going through it. It made it a lot more fun. But if I had went through it the first night that I had went, nope, I would have been like, this is crap, like everybody else. So it is number 8, I guess. After that, I would probably say Universal Monsters. Like I said, this is my least favorite Universal Monsters house they did. I still think that the first one that they did in 2019 is the best one that they did. And the other ones have been good, but this one is definitely just too much Phantom. Would have liked less Phantom. After that, I would put The Exorcist. It was good. I enjoyed it. I think from this point forward, there's nothing that I didn't enjoy. But I'm putting that one a little bit lower just because, you know, there's other stuff I liked more. After that would be Yeti. Yeti was good, but I also feel a little bit cheated because I wasn't getting all the scares. Yeah. They were happening like before or after me, and I was like, oh, okay. Great costumes, great set design. I wish I would have had a better experience through it just in that instance. Above that, I would put Dueling Dragons. That one was just really a nice nostalgia trip. Only thing that would have made that house really scary is if they would have stopped us in the middle of the house and told us that the ride was broken. That would have scared me, that they have to evacuate us because the ride is shut down. Because that happened every time I went on that ride.
It would have scared me if I threw up in the line.
It would have scared me if you threw up in the line.
See?
So Dueling Dragons after that. After that, I would put, trying to remember. After that, I put Stranger Things. I'm a diehard Stranger Things fan. I had very low expectations for this house. It exceeded my expectations, and I think that is saying something considering I've been so harsh on their Stranger Things houses in the past. I saw plenty of Eddies. I'm a huge Eddie Munson fan, and I don't care if it's cringe or not. Saw plenty of Eddies that made me very happy. Got to see the Master of Puppets scene. It was fun. I had a good time. Both times I went through it, I had a good time. Mm-hmm. And then I would say, I'm trying to think, am I missing anything? Then I would probably say The Last of Us and Darkest Deal are tied neck and neck for first. Both houses scared the crap out of me. Both houses had fantastic sets. Both houses had amazing aesthetics. Great actors who committed to their roles. The bloaters. The bloaters.
You can't get enough of those bloaters.
The clickers. The entire room, I didn't mention it when we were talking about it, but the entire room when you're walking through where it's just quiet and all you hear is clicking, and then you hear like Ellie like, what the hell is that? And then Joel's like, clickers. And you just hear the clicking noise. Oh, that gets me but blood goes cold every single time. So scary. And they don't even, I think they have one actor in that entire area, one actor in that entire room, but all you need is the noise and hearing that scene set up, and it's like, yeah, and then The Darkest Deal was just fantastic. The Darkest Deal is probably my absolute favorite house. Did not expect to love it as much as I did. And so yeah, that is our tier list for the houses.
Yes.
Everything else should take a lot less time because it's a lot less stuff after this. Exactly. The houses are the bulk of the event. Producer, did you want to say anything about any of the houses you got to go through?
Well, since I only got to go through, 4 houses?
Yeah.
Because I didn't get to go as many times as you guys did. I'll just keep it short. I did not like Dueling Dragons. But it's not a haunted house, just like you said. For nostalgia, yes, it's great. The reason why I didn't like it is because it was really too short. It was just like over before I knew it. I'm like, okay, what did I just walk through? I would look at it more like a fun house type deal, right? Like at a local fair. If they, again, all of these houses are like that to me because I don't get scared at them unless I kind of play along with the situation, but I'm not really like scared. In order to scare me, you would have to like have nothing in there. And again, it goes back to how I let the type of horror movies I like, not seeing something. That scares me more than seeing things. So, but I love the sets. I have fun with the actors. I have fun with you guys when we're there. Trying to make sure you guys get the scares because I know it's gonna affect you guys more. So I want to make sure you get the scares if I see them coming up ahead. But I loved Stranger Things and I loved Last of Us as far as the IPs are concerned because I thought they did a really good job on those sets. Putting us between what's his name? Is it Henry and 11?
Henry and 11.
That was fantastic. I love that. Putting us between that battle. That was great. Last of Us was wonderful. It's just like the video game. So I had no problem with them. I had a good time. And which other one did I go through? Was it Oddfellows? It was Oddfellows, right? Yeah, that one was horrible. As far as it was short. Again,
it was short.
It was short. And the other, it's like they put so much effort and time in some of these other ones. Some of these, they're just like, okay, let's just put up a couple of things on the walls, have a couple of scare actors here, and hope for the best. That's how I felt like those two. So I wasn't crazy about them, but no, I still enjoyed going through them. If we were there, I would go through them again. I don't care. Like I just, I just have a good time doing that. But yeah, I really wish I would have got to see some of the other ones. I was just looking some of this stuff up, and I was like, yeah, The Darkest Deal. I did not know that was kind of like a true story. I was looking up the guy, Robert Johnson, right? It's very interesting.
Yeah.
While you were talking, very interesting
it's cool
situation there. But yeah, it's a good time. Again, I look at them as like fun houses, not really haunted houses, because obviously you've been to like true haunted houses, right? Like a scary house when you go into one. And it doesn't hurt this. It doesn't hurt it. I'm not knocking it at all because I think that's what. When people go to Halloween Horror Nights now, especially if it's like their first time, it's been hyped up so much, they don't have a good time because they're expecting to get their pants scared off of them. Mm-hmm. And if you're going in with that kind of mentality, that kind of expectation, you're going to be disappointed. Yeah. It's all about fun. It's all about fun. It's very rare that they get me. The one house that we got stuck in where you and I were kind of ahead of everybody, right? It was me and Selena. Mm. We were way ahead of everybody. That was a little creepy because we had nobody in front of us and we had nobody by. I couldn't even remember which one it was because it got dark.
Yeah.
That was cool. I love moments like that. Yeah. That's great. That scares me. That scares me. I don't even know how we got split up like that, but that was fantastic. That is like, I was hoping like, okay, this is great. This is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
We're pulling Dina back, so she was like,
yeah.
kind of slowing down, and then we were just me and my friend were just stuck in the back behind them. But that actually happened to me and Gina when we went last Saturday. We somehow got separated from the people behind us, and kind of a little bit from the people in front of us. That lady was running through basically, and it was just the two of us. It was that one scene where the bloater comes running out. Oh, that was so scary.
Yes.
No one else in that area. It was just me and her, and he just came right in Gina's face, and then he was like walking behind me, and I was like, oh no. I was like, go away.
I was just waving at him.
She was like, you look great. And I was like, no. I was like, there's no one behind me. Don't get behind me. And he got behind me. I was like, oh, come on.
He said, come.
Again, if they ever did like those deals where you were walking in like with just a small group instead of being herded in, it would be a lot. It would probably get scary.
Yeah.
But the fact that all of those scares get spoiled because you see them, that again, I'm not even. I don't want to say anything negative about it because I had a good time. So either way, I don't care. Like I'll go through the crappiest house. It's just a fun time. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a valid point because we were talking about this when we were there. I was telling Gina that when I used to go to Howl-O-Scream a lot at Busch Gardens. The thing I liked about Howl-O-Scream versus Halloween Horror Nights is they would cut off the groups after a certain amount of people. They wouldn't let you in by yourself, but they would they would let in like 20 people, and then they'd stop the line, and then they let those people get like 2 or 3 rooms ahead, and then they'd let the next group in, and you would get every single scare. You would hit every moment, and the only thing that made or broke those houses was the actors. Sometimes you go through those houses and the actors were just not doing their job because the actors that they get for Busch Gardens usually aren't that great. I hate to say it. They're usually not that great. They don't really care to be there. They're just like, oh yeah, this is something to do after school, So they're
We
there.
love you guys. We love you guys over at Busch Gardens.
Huh?
We love you guys over at Busch Gardens.
We love you,
she
but
doesn't. Yes, we still love you.
We still love you, but
I will say this though. One last thing. I don't know how you guys felt about this, but I felt like the scare actors were on point this year. Like they were really into it. And that makes it fun. That makes it more fun. Even some of the people that were like, I guess they were guards in there, kind of got into the game a little bit. So usually they just stand there and they're not doing anything. And then I don't know why that one got in line with us. I don't remember. I don't know if you got in front of me and like walked through it. Yeah, and then got out, and then the other one was kind of like. You had a little finger thing. I remember that. Yeah. So that was cool. Like, yeah, they seem to be a lot more into it this year. Or I don't say into it. It's just, it was. They had a lot of energy.
It's a good cast
so it was good.
this year, I guess.
Yes.
People that they're really loving it. I think it also helps that like social media has been really helpful at like uplifting the event. I scroll through TikTok and I can't tell you how many videos I see of the scare zones and the actors in the scare zones and them people talking about the haunted houses, and I rarely see anything negative on TikTok about the event. So I'm sure that the actors are seeing this because they're all within that. A lot of them are within that age, so I'm sure that they're seeing this stuff and they're feeling more enthusiasm to keep going because they're seeing people say, oh, these actors are crushing it. This year is so good and all this stuff, So that's why it's like, yeah, we want to give you guys positive reinforcement. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. Hopefully the rest of the season you keep up the good work. And I will, to piggyback off your point, if you are going to the event expecting McCamey Manor, this isn't McCamey Manor. They're not going to take you and lock you in a box and shake you. They're not going to throw you down a flight of stairs. They're just going to jump out and go, "Rawr," and then go back in their little hidey hole. And if you don't like that, if you think that that's not scary, then maybe don't go to Halloween Horror Nights. But I would encourage you to go and just have fun with it. Don't think too much about it. Just have a good time, So that's about the houses. We still have scare zones and everything else, but that stuff will be a lot quicker because there's a lot less of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's 5 scare zones. Every year there's 5 scare zones. I don't remember the name of the first scare zone because it's not memorable at all.
It's barely a scare zone.
It's barely a scare zone. We blame the minions.
We do.
We blame the minions.
And minions, I'm coming for you.
We're gonna get you. Yeah, they used to have this scare zone back by Despicable Me, and then they built this whole big Minions land now there. So now it's right at the entrance of the park, and there's just really not a lot going on in that scare zone. The best part of that entire scare zone is Dr. Oddfellow.
Yes.
Meeting Dr. Oddfellow. First of all, fantastic actor. He really makes the character real, and I love that because as much as Universal lifts up their icons, there's not a lot of face-to-face interaction with the icons except for Jack. Mm-hmm. Jack is really, when he does events, usually he's out there on the streets like Dr. Oddfellow. But like, I know that they've had the caretaker out there, and I know they had the director out there. They don't think they ever had the storyteller out there. I'm probably wrong, but you know, they had Fear out there when Fear did his thing, but he was on stilts, so he couldn't really interact as much with people. You know, they didn't have Bloody Mary out there. They didn't have her out there. She was just in her house. So I'm just like, you know, again,
they couldn't pay her.
They couldn't pay her
too much money. She
they had the wheel of mirror out for her.
She said,
But yeah, no. This one was nice. We had a really great, I wish we would have filmed it, but we weren't really thinking about it. We had a very great interaction with Dr. Oddfellow, where he kind of read us for filth a little bit. Since we're both Leos, he made comments about us being incredibly charismatic, or thinking that we're incredibly charismatic.
Oddfellow told us we got that riz.
He did.
And I don't think that was reading us for filth. I think he was lifting us up that
he was, but then he said the thing about the planets all being in retrograde and saying that we must have been having a great time with 6 planets in retrograde, and I'm like, no, we're not, and you know it.
The thing is, Oddfellow, I'm sure you're having a great time too, aren't you?
He's having a wonderful
He's definitely
time.
a Leo as well.
Oh yeah,
I want to hear it.
He has to be, because he wants immortality.
Yeah.
No, he was really cool. Like, we went up to him, we were talking to him, and just kind of like, you know, having a conversation. And he did his thing where he walked around us in a circle and kind of looked us up and down. And that's when he started talking about the zodiac signs and, you know, telling us that, you know, we think we're the stars of the show and everything. We're like, yeah, we do.
I asked him if he had a Mojo Dojo Casa house.
Yes, because he is rocking that Ken coat. Mm-hmm. He is Kenough.
He is Kenough.
He is
He knows it.
He almost broke character when you asked him that. He started to laugh a little bit, and then he had to like pull it back. Just turned it into like a strange smile. Like, I know she didn't just ask me that. But that was a great interaction with him, and that was pretty much the highlight of that scare zone. I don't even remember the name of the scare zone. It's just like Dr. Oddfellow's
the welcome committee.
Yeah, welcome
That's
committee.
what I'm calling them.
To your right, you have Dark Zodiac when you walk through the Hollywood Boulevard section. Yes. This one is all devoted to the Dark Zodiac that Dr. Oddfellow uses to become immortal. And some fantastic costumes in this area.
Incredible. It's my favorite scare zone out of all
Fantastic costumes. Yeah. The actors that are in the costumes representing each zodiac sign really get into it. Leo was strutting the one night we went. Mm-hmm. They were strutting. That's all I know. They were strutting when they came up to us. Like, didn't even come up to us to scare us. They just strutted over, like, hey. And I was like, oh, okay, sashay in the shoulders, the hips, everything, okay.
Yeah, I told Leo the last night that I went that I was also a Leo. And Leo started bowing to me.
Oh, nice.
And then I was like, oh, no, lift your head, queen. Let me bow to you.
I was like Virgo was swinging their hips at us that one night. That was fun. It's a very cool scare zone. My only gripe with it is that I wish there was more to see as far as props go. Yeah. Usually the Hollywood Boulevard scare zones crush it on set design. There's like really not that much.
It's very barren.
And I was very disappointed in that. The actors are fantastic. Applause to you guys. You kill it. You make that scare zone feel alive. But considering like last year, that graveyard scare zone was immaculate. And the year before that, they had like the one where it was like Eddie, which is Jack's brother, brought back all the different scare zones from previous years. Yes. That was my favorite scare zone that they've ever done. It was insane. There was just so many actors, especially for post-COVID world, having all those actors. So like for that one, hopefully you guys can hear that. There's beeping going on outside. People are moving, so it's loud. But yes, so there was just not a lot to see set-wise, and that kind of was a little bit disappointing. But other than that, the actors were fantastic. Beautiful costumes, great area overall.
Just fantastic. And like I said before, my favorite. And if you walk through it, make sure to find your sign and let them know.
Let them know. They love it.
They will give you a great interaction.
Yes, they love it. And I actually did see a video on TikTok of, I believe, a girl with some form of special needs interacting with a chainsaw guy in there, and it was very sweet. They've been very sweet to people this year too, on top of scaring the crap out of them, which I love. She was very excited to meet the chainsaw guy, and he kind of got down to her level and talked to her, and it was very sweet.
It was.
And then he pretended he was going to chainsaw her knees, and she was excited about that. Hey, we all have our things.
We do.
The next scare zone after that, through Central Park, Jungle of Doom.
My least favorite.
I hate the scare zone.
It's so stupid.
Not only is it so stupid, but there's way too much fog in that scare zone. And I would say back in the day that was so great because the actors can hide and jump at you and scare the crap out of you. There's too many people at this park for that much fog, and the actors can't come and jump at you and scare you because they can't see where they're going. So most of the time you're walking through, they're pumping all this fog so you can't tell who's coming at you, and the actors are actually just flanking the sides. Because they can't see, and there's like 50 people walking through this tiny little area. So Universal might want to just cut back the fog a little bit, you know, like in that area at least, because it was too much, and that zone is too compact. And when you have the amount of crowds that they have, which is something we will talk about a little bit, the amount of crowds that they've been having at this event, the scare actors can't do their jobs. They can't utilize the fog like they used to back in the day. The fog used to be perfect because they would hide in the fog and you wouldn't know who's coming at you. Now it's like, well, it's just Joey and his, Raiders jersey coming at me. that's it. It's not a guy with blood all over him. It's just this frat guy coming towards me.
Also, if I had to hear Oddfellow talk about the skull of immortality one more time, I was going to take it from him.
Yeah, long lines at the taco stand. The taco stand is very, very popular this year, so we got stuck over in that area buying tacos, especially because they were out of meat when we got there, so we had to wait for them to cook the meat. And we heard that Dr. Oddfellow show quite a bit.
I mean, they must do it every 2 minutes or something ridiculous.
Not even. It's like every 30 seconds.
Every 30 seconds. The poor guy was going right back up on the stage there. He said, "The skull of immortality," and then he has to run off again. And then he gets back up, and I'm like,
"Skull of immortality." Yeah. Jungle of Doom is not it this year.
It's not it.
Then we have Shipyard 32, which is a sort of nostalgic scare zone. There's some monsters from Horror Nights past in there. I recently saw that they added the Tooth Fairy from 2020 and 2021. She's running around out there now, so good for her. Everybody, if you've been on TikTok and you see anything about Horror Nights, you've probably seen Batricia. She is a very tall, very beautiful bat lady.
Fantastic.
And everyone loves her when she comes out with her little fluttery wings. You made a friend and then he gave you the cold shoulder.
Yeah, he really did. And we're still fighting about that, me and him.
He had a hole for a face, essentially, like a weird hole. And
he was a sick hoodie. It looked like a Bad Omens hoodie, to be honest
with you. And he was following us out of the scare zone, and he scared me really good because he was walking with us just so casually, and we were looking at something else. And then I turned, and I just see this vacant hole of a face, and I jumped and screamed. And then Gina promptly was like, "Oh, hey, bestie!" And she made best friends with him. And then the next time we went, she said hi to him, and he just walked right past her.
Well, actually saw him again last night.
Oh, no.
I've been waiting to tell you this while we were recording. I saw him, I walked right up to his face. I said, "Hey, bestie, remember me from a few nights ago?" And he just stared at me, and I was like, "Oh, that's cute. He's like doing his thing. This is how our friendship goes." And I'm like, you were following me out of the scary zone, and I was like, "I'll be back." Well, now I'm back, and I really missed you. And he went ahead, and I'll try to explain this for people listening and not watching. He just swatted his hand at me and walked away. And I feel so hurt by that because I really thought we were close. So
I agree. The one guy, the demon guy, he was still trying to put the Riz on me. The last time we were.
He's trying to put Riz on people.
He does. I don't know why. He tried to get my pizza the first time I walked through that scare zone. He asked me if he could have some. He pointed at it, and I was like, "Yeah, sure, take some." And then he laughed, he swiped his tongue at me and then walked away. And I was like, okay. And then the next time I saw him, I waved at him because he looked at me and I was like, well, you looking at me? So I waved. And then he kind of like smiled at me and like walked closer to me. And I was like, you're not scaring me. Now I'm just uncomfortable. Now it's just a different kind of fear. It's a different kind of fear. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like, oh great, even the demons are like typical men.
But there's some great scares in that one. Sometimes the regular people that are supposed to be like the workers on the shipyard scare me more than the monsters because they just look like they're walking with the crowd and then they just lunge at you and you're like, why is this random you're part of the... I just thought it was some random guy named Joe walking by trying to scare me, you know?
Coming after Joe.
I guess, I don't know why Joe is the name I picked for tonight. Usually it's Bob, but tonight's a Joe night.
It's a Joe night.
So that one is pretty good. But yes, that Trisha, she's beautiful. We love her. We stand. And then the last scare zone is Vamp 69, which is my favorite scare zone.
Which is fantastic.
First of all, these scare actors are having a great time. That's why I love it. It's supposed to be taking place at like a Woodstock type music festival. The music slaps for anybody who really likes 60s music like I do. Absolutely slaps. Great soundtrack. I've been listening to it on Spotify. Love it. Love the vibe. It's just very like hippie. But then they're also vampires. They're trying to eat you and eat the people that are, dead and on the tables and stuff. I danced with one of the vampires the last night that I went. He was on a platform and I walked over and we just started dancing together. We had a moment and I'm very sad we did not get that moment on film because a woman walked in front of us while she was filming and started filming me for some reason. So if you're somehow listening to this random woman, please send us that video. I would like the video of me dancing with the vampire.
Stay in your lane. Don't just film random people dance. Like, especially when you see their family member, they're trying to get it on film. And
it was a great moment. I was like, I had my main character moment for the first time in a long time. For the first time since the pandemic started, I had my main character moment. Me and this vampire locked eyes. We started like swaying together. We were just having a good time. I look over and this woman's going, "Yes, queen," and filming me. And I'm like, who are you?
And I'm like, please.
Very, very depressing. But yes, great music. The actors are having a good time. So I love that scare zone. It's a cool one. It definitely is very populated with sets. Very populated with actors, like very populated with actors. There's some actors that are trying to get away from the vampires, and then there's the vampires. They kind of mixed the cool hippie soundtrack with the same screaming soundtrack that they had last year in Sweet Revenge. Yeah. We were laughing because there's one lady that her scream is just so funny. She's like, ah! And we're like, why does she sound like a bird? And we're like, why are you screaming like that, lady? Cool scare zone. I think we said our least favorite. We said our favorite, so we can move on from that.
Absolutely.
Yes, Dark Zodiac is great though. And Vamp 69 is great. Jungle of Doom.
Just don't bother.
You can actually get around that scare zone and not even go through it, and it's like
you'll be safer that way. It's no tripping hazard then.
Exactly. No tripping hazard. You don't have to listen to Dr. Oddville talk about the skull of immortality for the millionth time. Goodness gracious. All right, so now it's time to talk about the food and the drinks. Time to talk about the food and the drinks. We ate quite a bit this year.
We did. We cleaned house.
We got a lot of stuff. Okay. So the first thing I think we had was the cordyceps corn dog.
Fantastic.
I don't like truffle sauce. I discovered that this trip. I discovered I don't like truffle sauce. So I didn't like it, but I've heard it's a hit. I just don't like truffle sauce. That's it. It's fair.
That's fair.
But I'm sure it was good. I'm sure it was good. I just I don't have the taste for truffle sauce, but everybody really likes that corn dog. So I would say try it.
It's crunchy on the outside, cheesy on the inside.
And we had cordyceps, two of us, and nothing happened.
I bit.
That's why I did it. Gotta just hold on. I'm sorry, I just gotta shake that one off. No, it's been
my door tonight.
It's been a week. I didn't have as much as you guys had, so if anybody's gonna turn, it's you and my friend. Y'all gonna be crawling on the floor, clicking. But yeah, no, this was pretty good. Trying to think of other things that we ate. I did have the Surfer Boy pizza.
Yes.
Not worth it. It tastes like something you can get at Walmart.
It's a French bread pizza.
It's a French bread pizza.
That's it.
That's it.
You owe me an apology.
I do owe you an apology. It's a public apology. Oh, Gina's waiting for the apology. Okay, so Gina had the peanut butter burger. The burger that has peanut butter, raspberry jam, bacon, jalapenos. That was it, right?
Yeah.
That was it? Okay, yeah. And it's like on a bun that looks like a vampire blood thing. I tried a bite of it. It was actually really good. I'm sorry that I hated on you for liking peanut butter on a burger.
Thank you. Apology accepted.
Peanut butter on a burger actually slaps pretty hard.
Exactly.
It actually slaps pretty hard. With the bacon, it was
Did
like
you say that night you ate your own words?
I did. I was like, I wanted, and the thing that's crazy is we walked up to the booth and the burger itself just smelled so good. The burger itself, because they were cooking the burgers right there.
And they're smash burgers.
Yeah, they're smash
If you've ever had a smash burger, you know how good they are.
Yeah. So it just smelled so good, and I was like, I really want a burger now. But like, I had bought the ravioli. We'll talk about in a second. That was obnoxious. I already bought the ravioli, and I was getting ready to finish the ravioli, and then you were like, oh, I'm gonna get my burger, and I was like, it smells so good, I kind of want a burger. But I didn't want to commit to buying the whole peanut butter burger because of what happened with the Cordyceps corn dog. Spent the money on it, and I took one bite of it, and I was like, I can't eat this, and I had to give it to somebody else to eat. So I didn't want to do the same thing with the burger. So I was like, let me just try a bite, and I tried a bite, and I was like, oh my god, it's so good.
Fantastic.
Really
10 out of 10. Go get yourself a peanut butter burger. Get a peanut butter burger for your best friend. Get one for your grandma. Get one for your hairdresser, your dog,
Your cat.
your cat. Get one for every member of the family. Cannot speak on it enough.
Yes. I will also say, too, the burger itself, the meat itself, was delicious. Because normally, theme park burgers, they don't hit. They're usually really gross. This one was like restaurant grade, like they went all out with this actual patty itself. So definitely helped elevate the taste of that. So I enjoyed the bite I had. Really liked the ravioli, the Left Behind ravioli. It comes in a Fedra can, and it has 3 cheese ravioli in it, a piece of garlic bread, and then enoki mushrooms, fried enoki mushrooms on the top. The enoki mushrooms were interesting because you took a bite of them and it tasted like a mushroom, but then as you're chewing, it tastes like a French fry. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it was because of the breading or what, but it tasted like a French fry.
Sure.
But it was good. The ravioli was good. The garlic bread, don't know why they put it at the bottom of the can.
Yeah, they put it at the bottom, so it's like totally soggy, and it's just you're eating wet bread.
And that was gross.
That's a texture thing.
Yeah, that was gross. But everything else was good. Trying to think.
We had the Chucky popcorn chicken.
Yes, the fried till the end popcorn chicken. This was the one that seemed like everybody was hating on it because they were like, it's basic, it's boring. I personally think the French bread pizza was basic and boring, quote unquote. The chicken was very good for theme park chicken.
Absolutely.
Very crispy. It is spicy, so if you don't like spicy, wouldn't get it. It has like a creamy ranch sauce on top, some chili.
Should have done more of that ranch sauce.
Oh,
they only did a very thin drizzle of it,
Yeah.
and I would have liked a little more.
Yeah, the ranch was really delicious, and they would have.
Or they
paired
just
well.
gave ranch to dip it in.
Yeah.
That also would have been really good.
Yeah, I think they were thinking like grab and go too. So,
No, yeah, that's just like a personal preference, and that's not a bad thing to say either, because it's like, hey, I liked it this much.
Yeah, it was very good. The chicken was very crispy, which is saying a lot, but also very juicy.
It wasn't greasy by any means.
And it wasn't super filling, like it was just enough. Like you didn't eat it and then feel like, oh my god, I just ate like so much food, and you're like heavy and feeling like you're gonna roll around on the floor. No, it was like perfect amount of food settling in your stomach. Very good, very tasty. Definitely liked that one a lot. And then there's a cake called the Bat Slayer cake.
Yes.
The Bat Slayer cake is in the tribute store, and it is an Eddie Munson cake, essentially. I also think it's a little offensive calling it the Bat Slayer cake, considering he did not slay the bats.
He was slayed by bats.
He was slayed by bats, but he did not slay them. But it is a chocolate marshmallow cake with like a shortbread vanilla cookie on the top. Probably the most delicious dessert I've ever had. The marshmallow frosting doesn't really taste like marshmallow. It just tastes like a very nice, light vanilla frosting.
Okay.
It doesn't have the same flavor as the marshmallow. The chocolate, the shortbread cookie is really good. And the chocolate cake is very light and fluffy. It's not super rich, which I liked about that. I have another one in the fridge that I'm going to eventually eat that I bought last weekend because I was like, I have to get more of this. It was so good. So that was like the last thing I got as far as food, I think. Yeah, that's the last thing I got as far as food.
I think that's everything
That's
I got to eat as far as food goes as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good. I had a lot of drinks.
Had a lot of drinks.
Drinks were good. The Chucky drink.
The Heart of Dambola.
Yeah, Heart of Dambola. That was probably my favorite one of the event. And that's saying a lot because I'm an electric death girly. And that is my favorite drink of the event. I don't know what I'm going to do next year because I know that Heart of Dambola is probably not coming back.
Maybe they'll have the Chucky photo booth again and they'll just bring the food back.
Please.
For Gina's sake, so she can get the Heart of Dambola.
Please, for the love of God, because that's a good drink.
I only got the ghoul juice, and the ghoul juice was too sweet for me. After that, I stuck to rum and Sprite. But I will say this. The bartenders this year in the specialty bars, very great. You guys killed it this year.
Deserve all your tips.
Deserve all your tips and more. Great mixing skills. Loved the drinks. Made it worth the money. So I'm very, very happy. Very happy with the drinks I got this year.
Yeah, I'm trying to think really quick. So of course, Electric Death was really good.
Yeah, Survivor Fizz.
Survivor Fizz was good until you get to the bottom, and that's because they put a candied lime at the bottom, and so it got like very overly sour, and not in a good way, because I like a sour drink. Sometimes I'll just have vodka lime juice. But this was like overly sour, where I think if it tasted like that in the beginning, it would be good, but now that you have all this vodka in your stomach and you're drinking that, it kind of plays with the gag reflex a little bit.
Yeah, you were struggling through the last bit of that drink.
I was like, I spent money on this. I was
sitting here going, I can't help you because I can't drink vodka. So
yeah, that was really good. I can't remember any of the specialty drinks, but if I had any, I reviewed it in the blog. Mm-hmm. So you're more than welcome to find it in there.
Yes, I absolutely think that they killed it with the food and the drink this year. Again, they knocked it out of the park. I'm glad I got to try so many different things this year.
I wish I got the stew.
I wish I did too.
Yeah.
I did want to try that, but it's fine. I'm sure they'll have something similar.
It's fine. I'll just have the stew.
Hey, that's stew.
I'm drinking out of a stew mocker cup.
Stew mocker cup, yes. So last thing we can talk about here before we kind of wrap this up a little bit is some of the extras. So we saw the Nightmare Fuel show this year, Nightmare Fuel Revenge or Dream or whatever, I don't know what it's called.
Nightmare Fuel Snore Fest.
I liked the show. I still personally think Academy of Villains is better. I know that's controversial to say because of the stuff that's happened with them. I still think their show was better. It is very sad that they lost that show. That's all I will say about it because I know that it's controversial because of what happened with them.
I know that last year it was done as well with Universal team members, and that one was much better. And I think my gripe I have with this one is there's not as many illusions and tricks. It was just a lot of Disney Channel style dancing and not a lot of clothing on the stage. And I stand by what I said.
I think also too, the night that we went to go see it, by the time we went to go see it, they all seemed like they were very tired.
I mean, that is also fair.
I've seen video, like clips, even though you're not supposed to film, people still do. I've seen video clips where they look like they have a lot more energy and a lot more enjoyment than when we saw them.
I just don't think with the energy it would be any better for me because my problem was with the choreography. Mm-hmm. And it just felt like I was at Hollywood Studios watching like a High School Musical show. Mm-hmm. except there was just more skin. And, like, that's not anything to any of the actors. That's truly just, like, the choreography and then just the fact that they didn't put a lot of illusions in it. And when you did a show that was much better the year before, it's like, you have the potential, so why not go there? So that was my problem with it.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen The Nightmare Fuel, so that's probably why I liked it, because I've never seen it. I have nothing to compare it to. But I still think Academy and Villains is better, and I stand by that. Mm-hmm. And I know people are going to be like, no, Bill and Ted was the best. I didn't like Bill and Ted. Controversial opinion, didn't like it. Bill and Ted, didn't understand why there was so much gross-out humor, because Bill and Ted didn't have gross-out humor. Didn't understand why there was so much vomiting and pooping in the Bill and Ted show.
It's universal.
Yeah, didn't understand that. They didn't need all that.
That's a big thrive off of that.
I did see the very last Bill and Ted show they did in 2017, and I will say it was very emotional watching that show, and I know it meant a lot to that cast. There was a lot of tears shed when I watched it, because I think it was the very last show that they were ever doing, so it was very emotional. And I do have the Farewell Dudes shot glass. You know, I bought that in honor of the show closing, so I understand that people love it. I personally say I miss the Rocky Horror Picture Show review they used to do, but they did destroy the Beetlejuice Theater, so there was no place for them to do it. And I was actually kind of hoping when they destroyed the Beetlejuice Theater that they would bring back the Rocky Horror Picture Show review in there. But I guess they have to do something that's not just niche for, like, you know, people like, you know, me who are weird and like Rocky Horror Picture Show. But I still think it would have won over better than what they have there personally. But that's just me. But I do, like I said, I did enjoy the show. I thought it was fun. It was fine. We saw the Death Eaters. They were eating death.
Yeah.
They were eating death. I was happy I got to show them my tattoo. That was really the only reason I cared. It's a nice little touch. It's nice to see that there's something in that area now versus the prior years where J.K. Rowling would turn into Reagan from The Exorcist and her head would start spinning because there was orange lights in that area during Halloween Horror Nights. Don't think we've forgotten, JK. I'm sorry, she almost shut down the entire Diagon Alley like 6 or 7 years ago because they put orange lights in that area, and I thought that was so ridiculous. Such a weird thing to die, such a weird hill to die on. And then we did not see the Megans. I didn't see the Megans. I don't know if you saw them.
I did not see the Megans.
They're
hard to catch because they don't technically have a schedule.
Yeah, they don't have a schedule. We did see them taking pictures, but we didn't see them dancing. So we did not get to see them walk the night, which is very sad. I wanted to see them walk the night. But the best entertainment we saw the entire event, David S. Pumpkins. Any questions?
They put him at the perfect spot. They
did.
Put him at the bar so all the drunk people could just mess around with him. It's absolutely perfect.
I will say this, like when I first saw videos of the David S. Pumpkins actor walking around, I was like, he's so corny and he's not really into it. And again, I don't know if he just was having a bad night, the guy that was playing him, because when we saw him, he was on point.
I think the reason why there's such a disconnect in the videos is the videos that we saw, people recording them, were not speaking back to him. And so it's just a lot of like dead air. But if you're actually interacting with him, then he's able to do more with you.
It's funny. It's definitely funny. We were living for it. I asked him what he was, and he said David S. Pumpkins is his own thing. And loved that. And Gina danced with him a little bit.
I did dance.
She was the dancing skeleton.
My dreams came true.
It's in the vlog. Short, really quick clips, but I did include those. There was a guy dressed up as David S. Pumpkins that had a whole dance off with him.
Yeah, that was cool.
A David S. Pumpkins off with him. I would love that. So that was actually my favorite bit of entertainment, and it's very hard to catch him too because he doesn't come out every single night.
Yeah.
And you just get lucky that he's there. We happened to get super lucky that night that we were there. We were just like in line, and all of a sudden Gina was like, David Pumpkins, and I was like, oh my god! And he comes to every single person and stops and says says a line, and if you don't interact with him, you'll move on. But the longer you interact with him, the more he gives you. And we asked him where he was from. He said he was from Ibiza, man. Mm-hmm. He said preguntas.
Yes, he did.
So it was good. Great. He's a great actor, dude. He's killing it this season. I hope that they have a David S. Pumpkins every year now.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's just should be a staple. I mean, David S. Pumpkins is a staple of Halloween.
He is, exactly. And then there's also a little photo op that they have randomly with one of the Purge girls.
Yeah.
So, and that was fun. We took a picture with her, and it was fun. Like cool
moment.
Cool little photo op. So I'm hoping this is Universal dipping their toes in the water to adding more experiences like that. I would love to see more of that in future events throughout the park. Yeah. I like the fact that they had specialty bars this year that were actual bars, not just the way they used to call them specialty bars, and that you can only get like the specialty drinks.
Yeah.
I like the fact, because I can't do the specialty drinks personally because of the sugar content in them. So I can really only do, like, if I do a cocktail, I can really only do like a mixed cocktail. So having like the Peacock bar and the Animal Actors bar was like perfect because it's out of the way. You go and you grab a drink. There's some little chairs to sit in.
Yeah.
You just go and you grab your drink and
it's chill.
It's chill. And
nice.
The Peacock bar I liked because they had like clips from like various movies that are on Peacock right now for Halloween. Lots of Chucky. They kept playing the Five Nights at Freddy's trailer because that is coming out. So that's the only little bit of Five Nights at Freddy's that we got over here. Which I'm a little salty about because Hollywood got a whole display of the animatronics. And I'm like, why did they get that and we didn't? But it's fine. Maybe next year. But yeah, no, I really liked that area and like stopping to get a drink there. And, then they have David Pumpkins walking around. David S. Pumpkins, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice, like a little break, from some of the chaos and a little breather. You can grab a seat and chill.
Mm-hmm.
So, one last thing I want to talk about before we kind of ride this home is the crowd levels this year, because this is a hot topic that's been on all of social media with Halloween Horror Nights. The frequent fear passes are sold out.
They are.
For the first time, I think, in a very long time. They're completely sold out. The crowd levels are insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm only imagining that throughout October it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
It's going to get a lot worse.
It's going to amp up more and more every weekend.
Mm-hmm. And if you are planning on going in October, just be prepared for that. If you don't have Express Pass, the time will be now to get it, or as soon as you walk in the park to get it, because you're going to need it. We got really lucky when we went last Friday. The crowds were a lot lower. It was still really crowded, but it was a lot lower. We did, 4 houses that night? Because we did Chucky, Darkest Deal, Blood Moon, and Exorcist.
Exorcist, yeah.
Yep, and we rode a ride.
Yeah,
all before 2 a.m.
So
and we got there late, too. We didn't get there right when it opened.
We got there late. We even stopped to have a drink.
Have food.
We ate. So, we were able to have a very, full night.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday night when I had gone, same thing. Very low lines as well.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to do a lot. We also were very blessed and were randomly handed express passes from two guests that were leaving the park that day. And the odds of them ever hearing me say this is slim, but I'm just putting it out in the universe again. Thank you so much for that, and you really made the night.
Of course. And but last Saturday, oh boy. That's all I can say is oh boy.
Yeah.
I think that night was probably the worst time I've ever had at Halloween Horror Nights. I did not know that Universal Orlando does dances over at Hard Rock for high schools. So there was a homecoming dance that night. And I think a lot of the kids, once the dance were done, changed their clothes and came over to Halloween Horror Nights. And a bunch of kids running around with no adult supervision. And a lot of them were incredibly rude. And we unfortunately got stuck in front of a group of kids that were having fun, which is okay. But they were having a little bit too much fun and being a little too rowdy and bumping into us. And so it's just something to keep in mind that might happen in line. Be prepared for people to be rowdy if you're in line, because this event is getting more and more popular. There's a lot more people going. There's a lot more kids going, and there's a lot more parents just dropping their kids off and letting them go. You might get into a line for a house, especially one of the bigger and more popular ones, and you might be stuck in front of or behind people that don't realize you're standing there. That's the best way I can put it. They don't realize you're standing there. And that's just something I want to keep in mind because I don't think I've ever had an experience in line like that. Mm-hmm. I've had experiences in line with people being loud or, you know, like they're yelling and stuff like that. But I mean, these kids, it's like we weren't even there. They kept coming like around us and bumping. They were walking backwards, so they were bumping into us and all that stuff. And it's like, you have to be aware of the people that are around you. And of course, you know, we say this and you know this, but then you get there and you're having a good time and you kind of forget that there's people around you. So it's just something as a person listening to this, it's good to keep in mind, you know, you might run into that. Try not to let it ruin your night. Sometimes it's hard. Try not to let it ruin your night if it does happen to you. This event, you have to remember, this event has gotten so popular because of social media, because of YouTube, because of all the influencers going to it. So there's a lot more interest in this event than ever before. And it's a good thing because it means that the event will keep thriving and getting better and keep on going for the rest of time, you know, hopefully for a very long time. But it's also a bad thing because you do get bad people that are inconsiderate. And that's kind of goes without saying because it happens on a daily. It can happen at the grocery store. It can happen at the gas station. You know, you have those people that are incredibly inconsiderate. So it's just something that I feel the need to put out there because I know that I've seen a lot of it on social media of people speaking about that. And I feel like there's enough people that are like shocked. They're like, I didn't think it was going to be like this. I didn't think that the crowds were going to be this rude or people were going to be bumping me around or cutting me off in line. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there that, yeah, it does happen. And unfortunately, it's happening more frequently the more popular the event gets. You can do what we did. You can tell a team member. Team members will handle it. So that's what we did. And, you know, that's the only thing you can do. But Friday, we had a great time. I mean, I had a great time, especially at Friday, because I was like, really didn't know how Friday was going to be. I was expecting Friday to be just as crowded as Saturdays usually are. And I was surprised that it was crowded, but it was manageable. I even think the popular houses didn't get that high in wait time. Like
they didn't go over 95, I think is what
yeah.
you said?
Yeah, 95 was about where it was. So that was pretty cool because we kept walking by. Like, we didn't do The Last of Us and Stranger Things that night, but we kept walking by them and being like, wow, that's a decent wait time, you know, for that. So just keep in mind those types of things. You're going to be waiting in a lot of lines. I mean, everything has a line. The bathrooms have a line. The merch places have a line. Food has a line. Everything has a line.
The lines have lines.
The lines have lines. Sometimes they really do because people don't know where they're going.
I really meant that. Yeah, I really meant that.
That happened to us with The Last of Us. We were like, why is everyone standing here? The line for the line is over there. And they're like all just standing there in line in like, no one knows where the line's going.
So then we kind of just walked into the line and then
they were like, oh, wait.
Oh.
We're supposed to go in the line. So, yeah, so again, you know, it's just something to keep in mind. More crowds means the event's just going to keep getting better. They're going to keep doing the best. So it's not something necessarily that's thumb your nose at. There's ways around it. You can get a frequent fear pass in the future. You can get an express pass in the future if that type of stuff really is important to you. You can do the RIP tour, all the stuff we talked about in 2 videos ago about Halloween Horror Nights. All that stuff is doable, and it'll make your experience a lot better. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But this year's event, I loved it. I had a great time with this year's event. I think it is one of their better events. Still hasn't quite topped 2019 for me, but it's up there. 2019 was my favorite year. It's up there. It's up there. It's very, very good event. Great houses, pretty decent scare zones, cute little offerings around the park, and fantastic food.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with any of that.
Can't go wrong with any of it. It was definitely a good time.
Good time, yeah.
So hopefully, if you haven't gone yet, you'll have the opportunity to go, and hopefully you have as much fun as we did.
Yep. We put that out there for you. If you haven't gone yet and you're going to go, we put that out there that you have a good time. And let us know if you what you think of some of the houses, too, if you do get to go. And producer, what do you think of this year's event?
It was fun. We definitely I have to do what you guys did, you know, and do a frequent fear pass or something, because just getting through 4 houses, it was over. Like I told you before, it was over way too fast for me.
Yeah.
And being able to go multiple nights, I definitely gonna do that next year.
It's worth it.
Because again, usually I'm okay and I'm content with that, but there was so many people. It was just so packed. It's just like I said. It's just a rush right in front of your face, and it's over. You know, it's like going to a parade or something. You know, it's like you get there, you see a couple of things, and then it's like everybody's turning around and going home. So that's kind of how I felt. But no, overall, like I thought it was still a good time. I think they're doing a good job, and it's only gonna get bigger and more expensive.
Well, and apologies, we didn't ask you before, but what was your favorite scare zone?
I like the vampire one.
The vampire.
Yeah.
The vampire one was my favorite. You're right about the which one is that one? The Central Park one? What was that called? What was it called? Yeah, that used to be the best. With the fog, we always waited for the fog. That was like the big deal going through it. And you're right, walking through it, you're just trying to get to the other side without bumping into somebody else. And then you look on the side as you're going, and you notice there are no scare actors there. You know, like you don't even know. Some of them are there, and they're just standing, probably because they're afraid to come in because they don't know if they're gonna run into somebody.
Exactly.
And I love the fog. I couldn't wait for the fog. That was like my favorite thing, right? I mean, that's part of their whole slogan, you know, saying the fog. But yeah, for some reason, it's too much now, and you can't see anything, and you can't even see what the setting is.
Yeah.
You don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't even tell what the setting is half the time. So, and it was like that last year too. I remember last year feeling
it was.
So,
To kind of double back too, Shipyard 32, they were pumping fog out too, the same amount like Jungle of Doom, but because it's such an open area and it goes out into like where the water is, it works so that the scare actors, there's plenty of space for the people to move. First of all, you can move around, so the scare actors can still get you because they're in like the fog and they can be part of the crowd. Versus a small area like Central Park where you've got like hundreds of people going back and forth, and the scare actors are just kind of pacing on the outside, going, okay, do we go in? Do we go in? I can't see anything.
You said that too. I meant to say that earlier, but I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it works a lot better in that area just because it's more open. But Jungle of Doom, it's so narrow.
Yeah.
And now with the larger crowds and everything, it's hard for scare actors to feel comfortable enough to get in there because they don't want to be liable for anyone getting hurt.
Exactly.
They don't want to get hurt themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I would love for them to continue doing that with the fog in other areas, more open areas.
Yeah, and about this show, I kind of agree with both of you. I enjoyed it, but I also see what Gina was saying. I always enjoy shows like that. I always have a good time with them. But the old show, like you said, it's controversial. That one was more explosive. It just had it was a lot more fun. This one, again, I enjoyed it. They're very talented. If they are park workers and they can do those things, but hopefully they have bright futures ahead of them. They do a great job. But I do see what you're saying. It was kind of flat when I was sitting here listening to you go think about yeah, you know what, you're not wrong. It was a little like, okay, you could see that kind of choreography anywhere. There was nothing like super like wow about it. But again, I still had a good time with it. But the old show, my God, that one, I couldn't stop thinking about it when I saw that. It was ridiculous. I remember going on social media afterwards when I had social media and watching videos of it all the time because I couldn't get enough of it. That's how good those shows were.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, Universal team members, they are very talented, and I think they had the opportunity and they proved it last year on what they're capable of doing, especially with the tricks, the illusions, the more daring things. They showed that they can step up to that level. And so it feels weird that whoever it is in charge decided to dial it back like they did. So I just think maybe a new choreographer, maybe just some new people that are, designing the show.
Yeah,
well, because the talent's there. those people are talented and they're willing to learn more things and get certification, to be able to do more stunts and tricks. This is their craft, so they want to do better every year.
Absolutely.
I'll say this too, anytime I'm watching a show and I'm that close to a show and they're doing some sort of magic and I cannot see how the heck they did that, I am like, what the I still I was like, I'm gonna see something. I was so sure I was gonna see something happen and I couldn't tell. When they did the switch at the beginning when she was in the bed and it came out and it was I was like, how did they do that? I had my eyes on that bed the whole time. When did they switch? That stuff is pretty cool. Yeah, I love magic, so it's always nice to see.
Yeah, and last year they did so much. I think they started the show the same way with the bed in it. Well, I remember the bed, but I think they started with that same trick, and then from there it just amped up to a better and better trick by the end. And so that's what I was expecting this time around. I'm like, oh, maybe they're doing the same show, and I'm like,
and they did it.
I will say my favorite part was when the girl took out the whip with the fire on it and was just like,
yes,
that was the coolest thing.
Awesome.
That actually
that was cool.
gave me chills. I was like, that is awesome. That is sick. And they were just whipping. All of them were just whipping, and it's just the sparks flying. That was cool.
Yeah.
But yes. I agree with that. You only had the peanut butter thing that you ate, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes, that was really good. Remember I said that the
video.
What did I give it? A 4 out of 5 or something like that? And that was because the top was heavy with the peanut butter. And you had to really go down and get it. And it was only, again, I should have done that first instead of just taking a big chunk of whatever. Yeah, I think it was a peanut butter whip. But it was good. Yeah, I really liked it. So, that's the only dessert I think I had. And then, of course, I had the non-alcoholic drink that was basically pineapple juice, but really refreshing on a hot day. So I sucked it down. So I can't complain about that. I enjoyed it because I was so freaking hot. Yeah, it was hot. Let me see. Was there anything else before you go? Yes, the Minions, they need to go. Death to the Minions.
Ruin the stairs.
Why are they taking over? Why are they taking over the front of the park? I don't understand that.
And we take those Twinkies down. Twinkies.
Oh my goodness. Well, they like bananas. We'll just start throwing bananas outside the park, and they can,
let
them run out, and then just close the gate.
Well, look, okay. If they at least had the Minions out, dressed up in some sort of costumes, they could have just been cowboys or something. I didn't care. At least it would have put something in that area. You know what I'm saying? Because it's nothing. It's just usually when you walk in, you're getting smacked in the face with Halloween Horror Nights, and this time you didn't get smacked in the face with Halloween Horror Nights when you walked in because that was
right at the entrance, and people are walking in,
right,
so right there scaring you.
Right.
So yeah, yes. I think that was
no. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. Maybe they'll do something. Or maybe they can't. Who knows? They own that though, right? They own that.
I don't know why they wouldn't do it.
It's not like the Hogwarts situation.
Yeah.
I don't know if maybe it's because during the day when it's normally operating, they didn't want to put props in front of it because they didn't want to scare kids or something.
Maybe.
But the thing is, it's you had Despicable Me there the whole entire time.
Well, that front of that was always geared towards kids. Yeah. Shrek, Despicable Me, it always has stuff like that. So what's the difference? Again, I don't see it, but
I don't know. I don't know. Well, maybe they'll get feedback from some people this year and realize that most people don't really like that area, and they'll push it back to where it was.
Can't believe how much Shrek did for us.
Shrek was a haunted house location. Shrek was
right. Exactly.
Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
Shrek is love. Shrek is life.
But so that's pretty much it for this year's Halloween Horror Nights. We aren't going to be recording next weekend because we will be at Spookala in Tampa. We're very excited about that. At least I'm over the moon about that right now.
I was going to say.
I'm over the moon about that. I'm very, very hype. We might try to take some video of that event just to see the booths, and if we check out any panels, we might take some videos of that. I know there's one panel we're for sure seeing, but I'm not sure if we're allowed to video that, and I won't know until we're there.
Exactly.
Because it is a secret VIP thing that we've got. We'll see what happens next weekend. We might be seeing some Billy and Stu next weekend. We might be walking by, Billy and Stu. Hey, the boys, they clink. So we might see them next weekend. It's going to be a fun con. I'm looking forward to seeing some spooky art and some spooky people.
Yep, it's going to be nice to be home.
It is. Absolutely. So we're going to film there, and then after that we've got some movies to review because Saw 10 came out. And I have been hearing really good things about this Saw movie.
Me too.
I have been hearing really good things about this movie. People are saying it is the best since the first one.
I'm very excited to see it.
I am actually kind of interested in seeing. I know I've heard it's very gory, but I'm still excited to see it. People said it's mostly the story, and they said Jigsaw is just like John Kramer's just amazing in this one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't wait to see it. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, even though I haven't seen the series since high school. So
but we've got quite a few things to watch. We have that. We have Exorcist to watch. We have Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's is at the end of next month, and then there's also another movie we will probably check out and watch to review for you guys that's on Hulu called No One Will Save You, because that's been blowing up on TikTok. Everybody's really been talking about that, so we'll probably watch that and talk to you. And then, of course, we have to throw in for our first ever Retro Rewind this month, because it's his birthday this month, Friday the 13th. So we are going to be watching, reviewing, talking about the Friday the 13th movie, maybe do a little watch along, something like that. I am excited because I love watching Friday the 13th on Friday the 13th. Oh. It's just different. It hits different on Friday the 13th.
It's just fantastic. We have birthday hats.
Yes, we also have to watch Jason Takes Manhattan on that day. We have to watch Jason. We have to make sure we get the two best Jason movies. So yes, we will be. We have a lot to talk about going forward, but we have to get through this con first. October's going to be a pretty stacked month, so
October is looking very, very good. So there will be plenty of content coming out, and we are excited to bring it all to you.
Absolutely.
Some of it will probably trickle into November, and so the spookiness will just keep on rolling.
Exactly.
And then we've got Spooky Christmas.
We have a few. We can have movies we can talk about there, definitely.
Absolutely.
So keep an eye out. We're back in business now that we're settled in, we're moved in, and everything is good. We are back in business, so we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. Yes. All right. So thank you guys so much again for listening to today's episode.
If you like what you hear and you're afraid to miss an episode, you can catch us every Wednesday at noon on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen.
Catch up with us over on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and Threads at Dial H for Horror Podcast, and feel free to check out our Patreon for exclusive content under the same name. Once again, I've been Shay.
And I've been Gina.
Be safe out there, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Stay spooky.